YouTube, what's good? XhiaGaming here, and welcome back to another episode of the Game Lounge podcast, this time for December 2023. Rocking with me, as always, is my twin co-host with the most. Can I get an opening statement and a hello from Eenaa?
Hello, it's me.
Me. So it's been a little bit, but we are going to kick it off, as you should, with the biggest event of the year with the Game Awards. We're going to go right into it with our nominations. We're going to skip over the what we've been playing section, the what's coming up. We're just going straight into the awards.
Yep.
So to start off, we're going to go bottom to top with the award nominations, starting off with Best Adaptation. So this is obviously any video game that's been adapted in some other format, whether it's a TV show, movie, etc. So we had Castlevania Nocturne, the anime series. We had Gran Turismo, the film. Last of Us, the television series, Super Mario Bros. The movie, and Twisted Metal, the television series. So, I'm actually pretty surprised, for starters, at how competitive this category is. Usually it's pretty dead and like a one-off or one-out winner.
Well, what was last year? Where was Edge Runners?
It was for... I actually forget who won, but it was between Edge Runners and Arcane, and I think Arcane won.
Yeah, Arcane, that's right. So that was the year where we were like, whoa, there's two that are competing.
Yeah, and now, obviously there's still kind of two leaders here, I think, in The Last of Us and Super Mario Bros. Because Super Mario Bros. Was, like, I'm going to say pretty shockingly good.
I think it was pretty massive.
Yeah.
Like, in how well it did. Like, in terms of opening week and stuff, too.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm pretty sure The Last of Us is, like, a critical darling, though.
Yeah. I think, like, Super Mario was probably, like, a good commercial, like, winner for Illumination and Nintendo as a brand. And because obviously, like, off the success of that, they're going to spin off and do the Legend of Zelda movie as well.
It's a live action.
It's a live action, which is crazy. I think an animated would be good for that.
Yeah. Because he's an animated character.
Yeah, it just naturally fits well. But yeah, I think this one is kind of home and hosed a little bit in a sense with The Last of Us because of its, as you say, critical darling status.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm pretty sure The Last of Us, like, walks pretty handedly here to take it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Moving on to the next category, we have the best multiplayer game. So the contenders here are Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I would love to know your theory on your pick here.
Yeah, so, like, it's a pretty strange selection of candidates that kind of shows how diverse this category can be, in a way. They're all, like, pretty out-of-the-box candidates, in a way, and I could say, like, Street Fighter 6 was great because, like, the multiplayer was just an extension of the gameplay that was already pretty good. But I have picked Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I think, like, for me, this was a really, really good game that I enjoyed playing. We owned we bought the copy. I think we were a day one purchase for this game. I don't know. It's just like a good amount of fun. When I say multiplayer, it's usually co-op with both my girlfriend and I on the couch. So it's nothing to be like multiplayer, I guess. So
yeah, that's why I was like wondering why you picked it for the best multiplayer.
Yeah, so like, I mean, you could see it as a couch co-op, but we have done like one online session with our friends who live in Sydney. So I guess it does have that multiplayer capability and it is pretty fun. Like, I always end up just being, I play Yoshi and then Liggy will play some variation of either Toad or like Mario and just end up riding my back to the end of the mission. So I don't know, I just enjoyed the like funness of it in a way. So
Right.
I think that's what gets it for me. I think multiplayer might be a bit of a stretch. Couch co-op, definitely. But yeah, I'm gonna ride with it for best multiplayer.
All right. I went Diablo 4 because, like, okay, so this is a very strange category, and I think that they've picked very strange things.
Agreed.
I want to say, like for this category, like I feel like in a traditional multiplayer sense, like two of these games don't really make like a whole lot of sense to me. I want to say, like having, like I don't know. Baldur's Gate, which is more, I would consider co-op. Like, yes, it's technically a multiplayer, but it's more co-op,
Yep.
I would say, than multiplayer. I feel like multiplayer should have a versus in it.
Yeah.
Or like a component of PvP, or like kind of something bigger than itself.
Yeah, the definition on it's pretty loose.
Yeah, it would appear to be that way. So, yeah, I don't know, really. Like, I feel like we are. I don't know. I kind of went Diablo 4 because it does have the PvP. It's got that open world thing going on where you can see people in the world. Lots of people are playing it still. Apparently, Season 2 is going well. Season 1 was pretty dog shit. But I feel like the sentiment overall for Diablo 4 is pretty good. I think that's who will win, but I really want Street Fighter to walk away with it because I think it deserves to because of like those really cool like arcade machines that they've built in to play like the other games in that like hub world. Then you've got the silly fighter games where those stupid you make your own character people can fight in the hub. You've then got the normal ranked mode. You've then got like standard multiplayer. There's just like a lot going on for it multiplayer wise. I hope Street Fighter 6 wins, but I feel like Diablo 4 will.
Yeah. I mean, as we say, it's kind of like weird in terms of the category and the way that have, I guess, been not described, but the contenders for that list. Because I think there's a couple of choices here. I think Diablo 4 could win it just based on, I think it is the more multiplayer-esque game. Street Fighter 6, I guess, can kind of fall into that two-player realm a little bit rather than the multiplayer aspect, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, well, it's got couch co-op, couch like fight each other as well as a massive online infrastructure. So, yeah,
true.
Yeah, I don't know. Hope it wins, but we'll see.
We will see. Yeah, again, not one that I really have a horse in the race for. But moving on to the best sim strategy game. So we've got Advance Wars 1-2 Reboot Camp, City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4.
Yes. I'm surprised we both went the same.
Yeah.
To be honest. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Pikmin 4. City Skylines 2 launch was a disaster. They're like, yeah, we recommend a 4090 to play it. Everyone's like, fucking what? So the launch was kind of a shamble performance-wise, so I don't think that'll get a look in. Fire Emblem Engage, as much as I enjoy it, okay? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was very fun. And it would be my personal pick for what I would want to win. However, the story was just like classic anime garbage. So like, there's no way it'll win in that sense. I think it's just not going to happen. Company of Heroes 3, maybe. I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Maybe, to be honest, like it's just one of those classic like World War II strategy game things. So it's like whatever. Advance 1 and 2 might be like a little dark horse in this race, to be honest, because I heard it was excellent. But I think Pikmin 4 has probably the most like creativity to it, and probably like the most like heart and kind of like, yeah, I don't know, people who play it. But the only thing I think about Pikmin 4 is it's like niche. I mean, like all Pikmin games are niche. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think like for me, whilst all of these seem like pretty good contenders, I think City Skylines 2 kind of falls out of the race a little bit, as you say, just because of its initial launch and the troubles it had around that. But yeah, Pikmin 4, Fire Emblem Engage, I think are like the two front runners in that sense. The reason I picked Pikmin 4, I don't know, I just think it has like a good amount of fan love this year, and with the launch and everything, it feels like it's had a pretty popular reception by most accounts. And like while Fire Emblems had like a relatively high prevalence in the gaming space in recent years, I think Pikmin kind of has the edge here, just slightly. But I think it is, like, whilst they're all pretty good contenders, I think it is a two-horse race between them. But yeah, giving my money to Pikmin in this case.
Yep.
Very cool. Next award is the best fighting game. So the contenders for this one are God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6.
I mean, this is a classic 1v1 situation.
It's between, it has to be between like MK1 and Street Fighter 6. But I think like from the thoughts that we said before, it's weird that MK1 does not appear in like best multiplayer game, but it does for fighter. So it's like Street Fighter's almost got that edge over it before anything else has popped up. Like,
yeah, I think Street Fighter 6 just has more going on for it that makes it a more impressive fighter. Like its training systems, its new like accessibility stance that like, you know, you have the easy control scheme and then like the regular control scheme. So you can just hit like normal buttons like a normal human and do like a full combo, but you can't access all of your combos. That's the trade-off. So you don't have these niche scenarios that you'd easily win out if you could do that combo because you can't do them, which I think is amazing, and it's like a really good system to getting people involved in fighting games because they're so daunting. Because they are just like a 1v1. It's like and if you've never played them, you're versing people who've been playing them their entire life typically. So it is really daunting, and I think Street Fighter 6 just made it much more accessible with that system, but also just like its campaign mode, its character creator mode, its teaching mode, the hub where you can play other mini games against your friends or like randoms in the lobbies and stuff like that. I just think it's a much more approachable game, and just like I just think it has more content that appeals to both casual and like pros.
Yeah, like the extension beyond just fighting. As well.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we shared the same winner on this one as well, with being Street Fighter 6. I think for all those reasons that you've said, it's just like stands out just that little bit more. And I think like MK was still good. But I think really I think Street Fighter 6 just has that little bit more of an edge in this scenario as well. Moving on to the best action adventure game, with the nominees being Alan Wake 2, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, RE4, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We had a bit of a split thing here. And I think like there is it's harder to say that. I think this again is like a pretty highly contested award as well.
This is nuts. Like this is when it starts getting like stupid. Like when you realize like how stacked this year is. Because like realistically, all of these would be the best, you know, action and or adventure game of this year. When they came out.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I think each of them had their own like phase. I think each of these came out within their own like 2-month span. So I think was it Star Wars that came? Oh no, was RE first?
I think it was Star Wars first.
I think
Resident Evil's early though. It's like March or something. I don't know when Survivor came out. Because March was stacked again. Like there was like an insane like release schedule for March again this year, right?
Yeah, RE4 was the 23rd of March.
Yep.
And then Star Wars Jedi Survivor was the April. So like a month after. And then yeah, moved on to Zelda, Spider-Man, Alan Wake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, as you say, they've all kind of had a little bit of a moment in the spotlight, and it's crazy that like, why doesn't Boulders fit in here?
Well, yeah, I guess action, but it is an adventure game.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
and it is probably the best one.
yeah. So like,
So, yeah, I, I don't know, to let the other kids have some fun, I guess.
yeah,
Like,
it's weird. These awards this year have like, I don't know, the way that they've categorized some games and the way that they've fit in, like another one that didn't make this list at all, which I'll probably call out, is Hogwarts Legacy, not nominated for anything.
yeah,
Like that's pretty crazy.
yeah, I guess that's a whole nother discussion you
Yeah.
need to have about, you know, like ethics and biases and whatever within like the gaming, sphere around why that isn't nominated for anything.
Yeah.
Um, because like, theoretically, let's just place J.K. Rowling as the person who didn't make Harry Potter,
Mm.
and it was a person with like, neutral views, then it probably gets put in best action / adventure game
Oh,
for
for
a
sure.
nomination. So yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I guess it probably comes down to a lot of like politics and biases and that kind of thing. But yeah, probably something to have a discussion in a different podcast about.
Yes. But in terms of the ones that we have as actual contenders, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, I played. It was great. It was quick. I almost think that could have been like a DLC to a degree. I don't know what
I
your
don't know,
thoughts are on
man.
that one.
Isn't
But
it like a 30-hour game?
I knocked it out platinumed in 20.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me want to play it more. I don't know. I don't know about you. I'm kind of over big games. 20 hours sounds amazing.
Oh, no, I'm right.
This sounds great to me.
I'm right there with you. I just finished playing like Unpacking. That was a great game. And that was like 5 hours long. But yeah, in terms of my nominee for this category, I did pick Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I will just say that it's like a game that I had the most fun with on this list. Not to say that any of the other games aren't great in their own respective rights. It is also the only category this game was nominated for. So I'm doing it for that reason, semi-alone.
Look, I think Tears of the Kingdom walks away with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Zelda, man. Zelda's just like, it's like Oscar bait. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so entrenched in, like, critical acclaim within our industry, and everybody talks so highly of it. In fact, it managed to turn my idea around because I hated Breath of the Wild. I thought it was fucking sleepy, boring game, and I played Tears, and I was like, "Wow, this is great! Like
Yeah.
this is good. This is inventive. This gives me something to do. It's fun. You can like actually use your imagination and different tools and things in the game. It's exactly what it needed for me to spin around on it." However, this is what I think is going to win. But I want Resident Evil 4 to win because I had the most fun playing Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
I never played Resident Evil 4 before this remake. It was just like I used to be the biggest bitch in the world when I was like a kid when this would have been out. I was a big scaredy cat, so I didn't play anything to do with horror. And then, as I'm now getting old and I'm like, nah, bro, give me that creepy shit. Like, I'm just like, I played this game and it was, out of these, oh my god, man. I had so much fun playing Resident Evil 4. It's such an unbelievably tight experience that I would love for RE4 to walk away with it. But it's, once again, it's that thing of like, should we really be including remakes where we know the material is already great?
Yeah.
Like, where do we draw the line on that? Like, because it's technically an incredible game, but it's like, it's been done.
Yes.
Like, so...
Yeah. That's
I
why
think,
that's why it doesn't get my like a look in from me. Whilst
yeah.
I admit that it is, yes, a great game. I don't know. Remakes are always a tough one for me in
Mm,
terms of like a voting, because it is, as you say, like it's something that's had its moment in the spotlight and just come back
mm,
to a degree. But
yeah.
yeah, like another one on this list, Alan Wake 2. If it doesn't win here, I think it might struggle to pick up some awards at the show.
Oh, I might disagree with that, but
So, but we will see.
mm,
We shall see. So your final pick, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom?
I think Tears walks here pretty
Tears?
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on to the best VR AR game, with the nominees being Gran Turismo 7, Humanity, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, and Synapse. So, I still don't have a VR device, so I can't really pretend that this category is near and dear to my heart, or even my wheelhouse. But I'm kind of going Horizon just on brand value, and I think that's kind of the only thing that I can give it on.
It's so funny you picked that because I would say that's the weakest one here.
Oh,
I would say
really?
that's the least likely to win the award. Um, Look, I'm putting Gran Turismo 7 because like I feel like a lot of the VR market for people who'd be looking at this probably are like race sim
Yep.
people. So I'm picking that, but the real answer should be Village.
Hmm.
That's what the real answer should be. It's really incredible in VR, and I hope it wins. But I've got a feeling Gran Turismo pulls it out here.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think, yeah, Sims have kind of shot up in popularity, even with just like the everyday person as well this year. So, yeah, I could see why that wins. Humanity,
Yeah,
I don't know. I've seen and watched a little bit of that gameplay. I don't understand how it would work in like a VR space.
it would work like Lucky's Tale, I
Okay,
imagine.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, no, okay, cool. Best VR AR game. There you go. Best community support: Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, and No Man's Sky. No
Now,
Man's Sky won it last year, correct?
did he? Was that the one where Sean Murray was drinking the beer? And
I
it's
couldn't
like,
remember. I couldn't remember if it was best community support or best ongoing.
oh yeah. Actually, I
They're
don't
all
know.
they all kind of blur together with those two
It really
awards.
does. I'm shocked at your choice with this one.
So,
Honestly, would
um,
you like to explain?
I do have an explanation for this. So,
Mhm,
unlike best ongoing game,
mhm.
I see a valid argument for Cyberpunk 2077 being the winner in this category, because I think not only has like the community rallied around it, the developers have been putting out constant updates and doing more with the game and building on it. I feel like that is why it wins in this category, but I haven't given it for moving forward in the best ongoing game. I have another title for that. But I think because like this community support is majority voted by fans, I don't know. I think the only exception and potential other winner here is Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm, yeah,
Like,
that would have been my other pick.
but I also think because it's community support and this game, like now Cyberpunk's like kind of in that No Man's Sky realm where they've built back the
Yeah,
community
yeah,
trust. They've done
yeah,
more with the
exactly.
game. They've fixed it up. They've listened to criticism. I kind of think that answers the community question or community side of this award.
Yeah,
Whereas Baldur's Gate is just something that's come out the gate and done like a great job and will probably win a bunch of awards at this show. I think
yeah,
Cyberpunk has done enough for that aspect of it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I also picked the same. I mean, like they've done their like financials on like how much money it took to like restore Cyberpunk, and it was like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And which is insane because usually a company go, nah, no way. Like we're not gonna do that just to like update a game and get it, back to like what it should have been and like what it's promised to be. But no, man, they've gone from strength to strength, and they've really stuck with it, and they've listened to the community. And I mean, they've literally got a patch coming out 2 days.
Yeah.
A bunch of community features that were wanted, like highly requested, are now going to be put in the game, and they've still got more to come, which is awesome. It's just really having its like No Man's Sky phase.
Yes.
Where it is now really what it should have been, and I'm really happy that CD Projekt Red like actually stuck with it, because I think they even knew what they had. And I think the people who are at the top knew what they had. They were just like, investors, stock, we got to get it out the door. Like, and they were like, it's okay, we'll fix it in post. Like, but I think it's a good redemption arc. But I do think Baldur's Gate 3 is just such a fucking behemoth that is also a possibility.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't be mad if No Man's Sky won.
Yeah.
Just saying. I still don't think I'd be mad, because those guys are still pumping out massive updates as well. But I hope Cyberpunk gets it. I think it'd be a good testament to the community that has supported that game, and the devs that continue to support the game. So
for sure. No, I agree. I think that would be like a good swan song like entry. Next one I'm kind of confused about, because a lot of the entrants in this fit in with best indie game, but the topic of this one is best debut indie game.
So this means their first indie game.
Yes. So weirdly enough, I picked a different game for debut versus what I have for indie, but the nominees for this one are Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. So,
yes.
I'll be honest and say I played 2 on this list.
I'll be honest and say I played 3 on this list.
Okay. So I played Cocoon and Dredge. Cocoon was fantastic. Dredge was fantastic. Can't speak for Pizza Tower, Venba, or Viewfinder.
I played Cocoon, I played Dredge, and Viewfinder. I don't know what the hell Pizza Tower is, and I have no idea what Venba is.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest and say, like, I looked up Pizza Tower while I was putting together this list, and apparently it's got, like, people in the media game industry, or games media industry, pretty hyped, and, like, they all love it, but I don't know.
I'm looking at it. Interesting.
Yeah, so, but again, it didn't get a nomination for Best Indie. It's just in there for...
Oh, I've seen Venba, though. Okay, I know what Venba is.
You know what Venba is? Let me have a look. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
I know this one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Viewfinder is basically like a puzzle game where you like move images around and stuff to like create ways to get past things.
That's right.
You'll like
take this one.
You'll take like a photo of a bridge and then like move it and like drop it over like a gap, and then it like makes it so you can walk through it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I remember this one from the trailers and everything. But yeah, out of the games that I've actually played, I think, we've both gone the same winner here with Dredge. I think it was just such a good game. Like, the art style was phenomenal.
Dredge is just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Cocoon, though, is also incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like both of those two should be the front runners. I wouldn't be mad with either of these winning. But just from my personal taste, I prefer Dredge.
Yep. That's fair. Next topic, or next award up, is Games for Impact. So we've got A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Sennaar, I think that's how you say it, Goodbye Volcano High, Tchia, Terra Nil, and Venba.
Okay, I gotta know. I gotta know.
Yep.
You've chosen Goodbye Volcano High.
Yes. So
Please explain.
again, Games for Impact is one of those topics and awards every year where there's always some point for contention about what the hell is a game for impact.
Uh-huh.
And we always have the same discussion of, well, I don't know what it is. So, yeah, I think the impact is pretty hard to quantify, but I've given it to Goodbye Volcano High for the sole reason that it focuses on LGBT characters and topics that were kind of the source of, at the time when it came out, like pretty tremendous controversy. And I think it was still pretty well received outside of this category. So I think that's why I've kind of given it here. I've started playing Terra Nil on my phone. It's one of the games that came with my Netflix subscription, so
What the hell?
yeah. So I mean, that one's early stages for me. Chia, I've downloaded and haven't played yet, but again, it's got like I can see how that one's a good game for impact too, just because of its like the small island and that sort of thing. But yeah, I picked Goodbye Volcano High because of those sort of themes within the game.
Yeah. So Chance of Sanaa, for those who don't know, is kind of like a puzzle game where you are like learning like an ancient like language to get by.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked it for Games of Impact because it's kind of, to me, this the impact of like loss of language, and like I kind of am thinking it's going to win Game for Impact because there are so many like native tribes to areas where their languages are just being wiped out, right? And then no one can interact with these people anymore, or like we're just losing history, thousands of years of dialect to either being like moved out of like where their like natural place is, or like being colonized by like whatever, like whitewash and shit like that, or like their language is just being like mono, like they're just learning whatever the general languages of the country, right? And losing their own language. And I think that I would pick that as the winner for Games of Impact because I think that that's a pretty real issue that is happening, and that a lot of the new generation who are coming through underneath these, like the elders of these like really ancient languages, are just not learning it because that's not applicable to their real life that they'll have in a bigger world. So we're just losing all this generation, like generational language, and it's really fucking sad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was a pretty important game. It's super beautiful. I would really recommend it to anybody who wants to play a cool indie game. But yeah, Chance of Sanaa is what I would pick.
That's very fair. No, I think that's a good reason for it to win as well. Moving on to Best Audio Design, we have Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. So, I think this game's kind of going to be a recurring theme for me, but the one and the winner that I've selected for this one is Hi-Fi Rush. So, I think, even though I strongly suspect it probably won't end up winning 2 audio awards, I think this one had like amazing audio. Obviously, like if you haven't played it, it's like a rhythm action fighting game, beat 'em up. Yeah, like hard to describe, but it's amazing. It's awesome. Like I really enjoyed it. I was introduced to this one at PAX this year at the JBL booth and started giving it a play, and I was kind of like immersed in the story and the gameplay, and I thought it was so fun. And so yeah, I think it's obviously, with it being a rhythm game, audio naturally lends itself to the gameplay. So yeah, I think that's why it's kind of my shoe-in and potential winner. I think another potential interesting one in this space is like Dead Space, But yeah, I tend to think that like the original games or like non-remakes have the better chance at winning this.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I also picked Hi-Fi Rush for this because it's factually correct.
Hmm. Yeah.
If anything else wins this category, I'll be actually pretty upset. Like Hi-Fi Rush's audio design is like kind of perfect, and like we've got 3 horror games and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like I get it, like the web slinging noise, fantastic.
Mhm.
But like I don't know, man. Hi-Fi Rush is so uniquely different to any of these and sounds incredible.
Agreed.
So I'll be pretty sad if it actually loses here. It could lose to Spider-Man, I think.
That's a weird one to lose to, especially because you think that like bass wise, I don't know how many more sound files they would have added from 1 Miles Morales and now to 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess audio design also probably takes into fact probably like geometrically based sounds too. So it could be Alan Wake, like, like the difference between walking outside and indoors and like, like a gun echoing in a tiny house compared to like out in the woods or like whatever. So my sad guess would be Alan Wake 2 wins it, but I hope Hi-Fi Rush wins it.
Agreed. I'm with you on that one. Moving on to Best Art Direction. So we've got a couple of names that are starting to reappear. We've got Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Lies of P, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I love that Lies of P got a look in. It deserved way more than this, by the way. Oh my god, Lies of P is like actually incredible. How did this not get into adventure action? Anyway, I went with Alan Wake 2. I just think it's world design and like it's the way that it plays with like a lot of light and dark elements within the game and the visual effects that like occur with all the monsters and the thing like and stuff like that and like the room, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And then like I don't want to like spoil too much, but like the primary mechanic that like Alan kind of gets where you're shifting things, I think is like really cool. I just think it out of these, I just think it has like a very strong visual style that's like uniquely like Twin Peaks inspired, obviously, but like in a very Remedy way.
Yep.
I think. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking Alan Wake 2 wins it.
Okay. So I've gone again, Hi-Fi Rush. So I guess based on the previous thing of my spiel in audio design, to extend a little bit on that with the art direction. So it's not is it cell shady, the art style? I guess you could call it. Yeah, cell shady comic book.
Yeah, comic book.
That's probably the best way to describe it. So, and there's a specific reason I've picked this one. So, I looked back on a couple of other winners in the past. So, if we want to go something in the same vein as Alan Wake 2, which probably bodes well for this, Control won it for Best Art Direction.
Yeah.
But in saying that, as like for another one that we haven't voted for in this situation, but Breath of the Wild did not win Best Art Direction. So I guess that's kind of almost an uphill battle for Tears to win it if your predecessor didn't win it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say its art direction didn't change drastically.
Yeah. No, art is very much still the same.
Definitely updated it.
Yeah.
It's very much still the same iconography and all the rest of it. So
for sure, like Breath of the Wild would have obviously been built for the Wii U, and then obviously it was just ported over to the Switch, and now Tears would have been 100% developed for the Switch. But yeah, like stylistically, it's still the same vibe, same look, same feel.
I would love Liza P to walk away with it. That would be so epic.
Liza P, again, another game which doesn't feature heavily on this list of nominees, but I don't know if it wins art direction necessarily. I think it's a great game. I think could probably win in other categories, but art direction, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's pretty inspired. I mean, it is cool in the sense that it's playing with like the story and thematics of Pinocchio, which isn't exactly something that is ever explored in like popular fiction, like ever. So it's really cool that they've done it in such an interesting way. But you can tell it very much wears its inspirations on its sleeve, but in like the best way possible. I would be super stoked if Liza P actually like wins it though, because it is like some of the sections in that game are like unbelievable. So yeah,
definitely. Next category, and I think this is a little out of order, but we've got best game direction. So again, a couple more categories or names that you would have seen already, but we've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, before we jump into this, I will say that historically, games that have won Best Game Direction have then gone on to win Game of the Year. So, a couple of like heavy hitters in here, obviously. I think like the weakest in this list is probably Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Yeah.
If we were to knock one out.
God, that's so fucked saying that sentence.
It's so rude to knock like a Mario game out, especially a Mario game that was really good.
Yeah, especially that.
And I've written one here, and I'm kind of almost reneging my thoughts on who I picked. I will say that I picked Alan Wake 2. So
let's hear it.
Like, I will say that this year, comparative to last year where we were coming off COVID and etc., where there wasn't necessarily a clear game of the year, or where there was, I should say, a clear game of the year winner. I think any of the games on this list can do that. I don't know. Like, yeah. It's so tough. Like, I do think, like, looking at it, I'm like, Baldur's Gate 3 could likely take this home, but again, I just don't know. I don't know. It's like Alan Wake 2, I think, was like a fantastic game, did really well, good horror game. But then, you've got like Baldur's Gate, which people are still talking about in the office, like almost half a year after it's come out. Like, I don't know if Alan Wake 2 wins this award on recency bias alone, or if Baldur's is, as I say, like carrying enough weight to where it just gets the shoe in. I don't know.
So I picked Baldur's Gate 3.
Yep.
So I think it has the strongest fundamental understanding of what it is trying to be, and really overindulges in the fact that it knows exactly what it wants to be, which is why it's such an in-depth monstrosity of a video game that has too many choices and outcomes and consequences. However, I actually wouldn't be shocked if Spider-Man 2 wins it off of cinematic flair and understanding what it's doing, like with cinematic basis and whatever. I personally don't think Alan Wake 2 will win it because I think it's a bit fragmented. I think its pacing is a little strange and a bit awkward, which is why I don't think it'll win game direction.
That's fair.
And yeah, but I'm gonna stick with my gut feeling of Boulders.
I can see your take though for like Spider-Man 2 and the cinematic esqueness of it,
Yeah,
and the
but I
storytelling.
think,
Yeah,
but I think it gets a bit lost in the source too, though, which is also the problem.
yeah, I agree. I think at times it had like I don't know if it's like a main character complex where it's like, who am I? Who's the main character? Because obviously you've got the two Spider-Men, then you had like Harry in there, you've got MJ, and then you've got all
Yep.
the side characters. Like you had Craven for 60% of the story, who then disappears, for lack of a better word, to not spoil it. Um, yeah, it's. I agree.
Yeah.
So I think Boulders could win it on that alone and merit. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see if that leads into anything. Um, Next one we've got is the most anticipated game. Obviously, this one's very subjective, to who who you ask. But we've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. So I'll start off and say that I picked Star Wars Outlaws. Um, I don't know. I'm just a sucker for a good Star Wars game. I think we've been feasting a little bit recently, which has been nice. The game also, like, I mean, it's only been one gameplay trailer that we've seen, and it is Ubisoft, so, like, judgment withheld until this game actually releases. But based on that first gameplay trailer, it does look pretty fun, like the open worldness of it. Again, there's still so much that we don't know about it and the details, so I mean, this could be a steaming hot pile of garbo, we don't know, but I guess that's why it's anticipated. You never know what it's going to turn out to be.
Okay, I went with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because it's Final Fantasy VII, and that game's a behemoth. And I don't. If you got to see percentages on this, I don't think it will be close. Like my personal one is Hades 2,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the hype for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will clear all of these
Yeah.
quite
I'm
easily.
actually very surprised that you didn't put your name against Hades too.
That's what I feel inside, but I think Rebirth will take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very fair. No, I
Yep.
think, as you say, like, this one's got enough critical acclaim behind it and like fan level of support that it does enough to push it over the line. But personal
Yeah.
win would be Star Wars for me. Um,
Yep. Yep.
Next up, another one which is also like very confusing in the way that it's defined, but it's innovation in accessibility. So we've got Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. So yeah, I this was one I had to kind of Google a little bit, I'll be honest, to see what they've done in terms of making their games accessible. It's something I guess that we're a bit have like a bias towards with not knowing what necessarily is accessible for gamers outside of the normal realms, but apparently Forza Motorsport wins this by a landslide by all accounts. So they've got accessibility options for vision impaired races and things like that. So yeah, on top of like the colorblind features and X other things that they've got in there. So pretty crazy, but yeah, that's the one for me.
Yeah, I kind of went along the same lines. I've heard that it is like has an insane amount of features, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Street Fighter 6 gets a look into because apparently its accessibility features are also pretty nice. So
Yes. Next up, we've got the best sports racing game. So we've got EA Sports FC, so that's the rebranded FIFA game. We've got F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, and the Crew Motorfest.
it's crazy they only put one game in this category,
Yeah, right.
and it's Forza.
Yeah, literally. I feel like Forza's just walked away with every award that it's been nominated for in the best sports racing category for years now. Like, it just keeps showing up and sweeping out. Like, I'd love to see Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged take it. I think that would be such a cool game to win. Because I played the first one when it was on PS Plus, and I thought that was such a good game. And like, it's got really good reviews for the second one, but
you know what would be like the most like ideal year for this category would be like a Forza and like a Gran Turismo and like a Need for Speed all coming out in the same year.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise it's just like year on, year off, year on, year off, and they just juggle it.
Yeah.
Or Mario Kart as well. New Mario Kart plus those other ones. That's like the most insane capped year for like racing.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as like Mario Kart 9 comes out, game over for sports and racing.
It's
but yeah, Forza Motorsport by a landslide. Next up, we've got the best family game. We've got Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Another category with one video game.
Yeah, crazy. How does that happen? Yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I think, by a landslide. Doesn't really...
Yeah, I think it clears pretty heavily.
The only other one that I think would maybe get a look in would potentially be Pikmin, but I think Super Mario Bros.
Is that co-op?
Huh?
Can you play that co-op?
Ooh. Actually, that's a great question.
Because I feel like when they say family game, what they really mean is like a game you can play with a young person. So I feel like I'd have to have a look at like previous year's winners, but I feel like there's always a couch co-op element to a family game, like winner. But I could be wrong.
Okay, so it looks like it does have co-op.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I don't know. I'm reading things, like I'm trying to get things out of it and like do a TLDR, and it's like to some extent it does have multiplayer, but it's limited. Okay. So you can't join your friends.
Right.
But a second player can move a cursor.
Okay, so it's like Cappy in Mario Odyssey, right? Okay.
So I think it's multiplayer by the loosest possible terms. So yeah, by that by that level of definition, then I think Super Mario Bros. Wonder does take it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Cool. Next up, we have the best role-playing game. We've got Baldur's Gate. We've got Final Fantasy 16, Liza P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. So, Eenaa, why is not Starfield not your choice?
Okay. Oh man, we need another podcast. Okay, Starfield is. People are gonna hate me online for this. Starfield is good. It's just not great. It's a good game. I truly actually don't think it really deserves the hate it's randomly getting now at the current moment. I think it's like a bit far. But yeah, it's just good. It's not great. And unfortunately, Baldur's Gate 3 is like fantastic, outstanding, like probably near perfect. Like, so it's pretty hard. And also against like Sea of Stars, which is like being regarded as like one of the best like returns for like a JRPG style video game for like indies, which is sitting at like a 92. Liza P, which for some reason critics did not like, but like literally every other Giga Chad normal video game player has been like, this is like one of the best Souls games made in like the last 5 years. And Final Fantasy 16 is a really long episode of Game of Thrones. So like,
and they were already long.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like this one is just easy.
Yeah.
And because Final Fantasy isn't really a role-playing game, as funny as that is to say, it's more of an action adventure game.
Yeah.
Because there's not really many RPG elements to it. Besides like some basic like I put a ring on, does it change my character's appearance? No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like stat shit. So yeah, I mean, I think we both think this clears pretty easily.
Yeah, I picked Boulders as well, but I did make a note here that I was like, I do think that Zelda could have won if it had been nominated. Again, weird with the nominations and the limits that they have with the like 5 games here.
Yeah, I guess they really consider it to be more of an action adventure game.
Yeah, apparently.
But we're gonna need some. We're gonna need them next year, I think, to like define what they think a genre is.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you are technically playing as Link,
yeah.
who is a role of a character you can play.
Yes,
and you can make a bunch of foods and stuff and items and whatever. So
this is true.
Yeah,
it's a bit loose, but anyway. Moving on to the best action game. So the nominees we have are Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. So I've again gone Hi-Fi Rush just because of like my initial thoughts and comments, but I do see a world where like Remnant 2 could get my personal vote if I was going to go something outside of Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, Remnant 2 is lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, this is one where it's kind of like, I feel like, yeah, Ghost Runner and Dead Island 2, I would be shocked if they won. Mm-hmm. They're both good. Hi-Fi Rush, I'd love for it to win an award, so it would be sick here. Mm-hmm. However, I think my original game of the year that I had the most fun playing was actually Armored Core.
Yeah?
Like actually. I loved Armored Core. It was my first one I've ever played, and I thought it was actually so amazing. It took me like... It felt like I had like PS2 nostalgia, like all over again. I was feeling like a small child. It was lit. But I also played Remnant 2 this year and beat it with one of my friends. And it was really, really good. Super solid. Really fun. So I think, yeah, Armored Core, Hi-Fi, and Remnant, I think are the top 3 running dogs for this. I mean, you could go into any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like... I don't know why Armored Core, it kind of fell off my list a little bit. I think it was it a year or two ago where we saw like 4 or 5 mech games in the span of like 6 months. And I think that's why it kind of fell out for me. Potentially. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on to best mobile game. We have Final Fantasy VII, Ever Crisis, Honkai Star Rail, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. So I will say that on this list, Hello Kitty Island does not exist on Android. So I was trying to download all of these when I found out the nominees to try and give them a play. Even though like Hello Kitty not really in my like favorite list of characters, the game looks fun. It looks like a
Animal Crossing. Yeah,
it looks just like Animal Crossing, but as a Hello Kitty rip. Anyway, of those games that I can actually play, Terra Nil was the one that got my vote. I don't know. It's kind of like, how do I describe this?
You regenerate Earth using specific tiles.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to describe it. But yeah, this was it was published by Devolver. So, and as I say, it was randomly showed up on my list of games that I get for free from my Netflix subscription. So, thanks, Netflix.
I never said that sentence ever again.
Yeah, I was like, thank you for upping my subscription fee just so I can get this game to play for 5 minutes. No.
Unfortunately for you, my friend, you've completely forgotten. The weebs will decimate you, brother. It's gonna be Honkai Star Rail. I played a bit of Honkai Star Rail. I played some on stream because I heard it was turn-based, and I like turn-based games, but I think the thing with me, the problem I have with games is there's something like if it's free to play and it has a gacha system, to me it just feels cheap, and then I just stop playing it because I'm like, this feels cheap. I'm like I don't want to play this. Like this just like there's something just about it being free and like the whole like thing of it's free. Oh, I can just drop it whenever. It doesn't matter. I don't need to keep playing it. Yep. Whatever. But I think it'll win because there's a lot of weebs.
That's fair. They do. They do power through with their voting power. Like, I do love though the fact that we have Final Fantasy and Monster Hunter on the mobile. Just that's fantastic.
Yeah. So well, apparently, Ever Crisis is like actually sweet, but like apparently it's also just once again too gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but apparently it's like you get the backstory for like Sephiroth and like whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think it's sick that we're getting some big name titles on mobile. But that's
I just wish they would stop using the fucking gacha system and just let us pay for a video game. But anyway,
agreed. I do wonder though, like how much they'd then charge for like the full game. But anyway, moving on to the next one, best ongoing game. We have Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. So, yeah, I mentioned before why I didn't pick Cyberpunk 2077 here. So, whilst I think it has the best community support, I don't necessarily think it's the best ongoing game. So I like Final Fantasy 14 was a tough pick as well. There hasn't been an expansion released this year, so it's weird to say that that's the best one, but again, it's still had like a number of apparently pretty notable updates in the back end that have played into it being a bit better and a bit bigger than it was and solidify it in the MMORPG market. Fortnite, you could play off recency bias with bringing back the OG map. Like that's
what I'm thinking.
That's a possibility here. Like Apex has had Apex won best MMO last year, I think.
Sorry, did you say Apex won best MMO
last year?
Apex Legends, the Battle Royale game.
Yeah, did it not win last year?
The MMO?
Oh, not MMO. Yeah, BR. Lol.
I was like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about?
I know games.
I'd be like, that's epic. I didn't know it was an Apex Legends.
Yeah.
I don't know if it won best ongoing. Maybe it did. I don't even remember what won last year.
It won best multiplayer last year. Oh, wait.
Yeah, this is ongoing.
Yeah. I don't know. I've gone Final Fantasy, but again, I could see Fortnite walking away with it just because of OG.
Yeah, look, I just picked with my heart on this category because they put Cyberpunk there, which makes no sense because it's a single-player game whose only expansion it will get dropped. Like, they are doing updates and stuff, but I'm like, A, we don't know how much longer. And I guess, should this be considered ongoing if they were just, like, patching it for 2 years, then gave us the expansion? I don't know. I mean, I'm picking it because it's my favorite out of these. So, my guess is it will go to Fortnite for its OG thing that it did for recency bias. But I'm still going to stick with Cyberpunk, even though that won't get picked. But
fair enough. Gone with the heart. Next up, we've got Best Independent Game. We've got Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. So,
Dave the Diver, my favorite independent game.
That's it. Yeah. So if you guys haven't heard, Dave the Diver apparently should not be in this category of Best Independent Game just because it's linked to a bigger studio, I believe.
Nancon? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So, um, I don't know. It's in the list, but if it wins, I think that's stealing from games that are
Nexon.
indeed independent.
Nexon,
Yeah.
which is huge. They do like
Yeah.
Maple Story and all that shit.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, it's tied to that. So if Dave the Diver happens to win here, like I'll be up. I'll be honest, if it was completely independent, I think that would have been a great pick for best independent game, and probably one that would have walked away with it. But instead, I think Cocoon grabs the win.
I feel like Keeley just like you like look at this category. He's like, Indie's just kind of a vibe, and like it's just like no, it's actually a term which has like a real definition.
Yeah.
But like I kind of like I mean it's voted by a panel, right? And like I understand in the sense of like it has the vibe of an indie game, obviously, because of like what it is. But it's also published by Nexon, which is not an indie term. So, yeah, like the idea of being independent is your studio is independent.
Correct.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that wipes it out immediately. But
yeah,
you've gone Sea of Stars.
I have. I'm pretty sure Sea of Stars walks away with it here. I think that it being, from memory, the most critically acclaimed amongst these, and being on every service, being PS Plus, Game Pass, Steam, Switch, everything, I think puts it in a good position to be like the most widely and easily acceptable for people to get into and play, because it is on those services.
Yeah.
And it just got such a amazing, like it's like a 92 or something on OpenCritic or whatever. That's so crazy. I feel like just a lot of people could get into it, and a lot of people could play it, and it's a critical darling, and yeah, it's beautiful, amazing OST. The OST was made by the composer of Chrono Trigger, I'm pretty sure, because it's heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it clears. As much as I would love to see Dredge win, because I love me some Dredge, but I think Sea of Stars wins.
Very cool. That clears. Next up, we have the best performance. So we've got a couple of good actors in here. We've got Idris Elba as Solomon Reed in Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Melanie Liburd as Saga Anderson, Alan Wake 2. Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker Spider-Man in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Neil Newbon as Asterion in Baldur's Gate 3. Ben Starr as Clive Rossfield in Final Fantasy 16. I feel like this is the one category where they've broken the norm and said that they're going to let 6 games in, or like 6 things in.
Man, God, they're all great performances. Yeah. Like I loved Idris because I wrapped up Phantom Liberty like last week.
Yep.
I want to say, or maybe a little bit more before that. Man, yeah, Idris's performance was amazing. Like, which is why obviously like so many people want him to play, James Bond, right? Yep. Because like the concept of the expansion is a spy thriller, and he plays it so well. Like,
yeah.
So I would be. Look, that's who I personally want to win.
Yeah.
Because of my cyberpunk bias. But I think Asterion from Baldur's Gate 3 just has so much brain rot going around in like the gaming community that I think he'll win. But then again, like they had the other industry awards where Ben Starr won Best Voice Actor for Live. So he's already got a trophy, so it's like, oh, maybe it's Ben again?
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you went Yuri, which I heard makes a lot of sense considering that,
Yep.
Apparently his performance with the suit on is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like again, I've gone I've gone Yuri because I think his performance was really good in both like the typical Peter Parker and then the Spider-Man and then as Venom. Like I think there's I don't know, it's weird. This year they've kind of spread the love between multiple titles. In previous years we've had, you know, multiple actors from the same game. Like as you say, the Asterion hype has been pretty good. I honestly think though that they'll pick Idris just so that they can say Idris Elba was at the Game Awards and won an award sort of thing. I think it's just good for publicity to have like a Hollywood actor be mentioned in the same conversation as the Game Awards.
No, I actually don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't think so. Like, that's who I would want to actually personally win. But I think, looking at these, I actually think he's probably the least likely to win. I would say Cameron is probably the least likely to win. And then it would be Idris, if I'm being honest.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think... because you have to remember, his performance is from an expansion which has a 20% attach rate on a game lots of people didn't want to play because it was broken.
True.
So, realistically, how many people on the board played that expansion?
Well, you would hope that everyone who's on the board is playing. If they're
reckon. I don't reckon many of them have played the expansion. Like the attach rate's 20%.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Yeah.
If it's,
I don't think so.
Then if we're saying that, then yeah, there's only like 3 or 4 horses here potentially. Like I think Cameron's knocked out of the race sadly. Like, as much as I love Star Wars Jedi Survivor, yeah, it knocks out pretty quickly. But we'll wait and see. Best performance is always such a tough one to pick. Like last year, it was Christopher Judge as Kratos again.
Is that one that hard to pick?
Yeah, that's true. He was fantastic. But we will see. Hopefully, if it's a Hollywood celebrity, no like 30-minute long speech this time.
Oh God, that's true.
Next up, we have Best Score and Music. We've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So we've both gone The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I can see Final Fantasy 16 winning this one. I decided not to give it a Hi-Fi Rush in this scenario, to give my vote out to other games and other ones, I guess. But yeah, Legend of Zelda has some phenomenal music in it, like very melodic, very like scenic, I guess you could say. I don't know, I'm trying to find a good word to describe that.
It's like atmospherically like correct for the like story that is occurring in it. Like, you know, when you go into like it's dark, scary caves and stuff, like, you know, the music completely changes its like tonality and its warmth, and then like when the crazy bullshit happens where like you know, the red moon and like all the plague or whatever the hell, I can't even remember what it's called anymore, like comes out, and like, you know, the music becomes like more jarring and like scary and terrifying. It just has a lot of variance in how big the actual score for the game is. And it's just very traditional. Very iconic, like iconically traditional, if that makes sense. Like you hear the theme, you know what you're like getting. Yeah, and I just feel like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know how to put it. Like comparing it to these other two, like Alan Wake 2 has some very interesting musical events, let's call them. Which makes it probably the most unique for its score and music. But like, man, it's just hard to compete with like a 200 sized like orchestra. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Zelda on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Respect that one. Next up, and second last before our Game of the Year nominations, we have Best Narrative. So we've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Okay, I've gone Alan Wake 2, and I don't know, it for me seems like the strongest candidate just in this category. I think, like, I know you said that there was some like pacing issues and that sort of thing, but I think the story is pretty phenomenal and probably the game's biggest draw. I'd say it's also more
for sure.
It's also more traditionally cinematic than maybe the other games on the list. Yeah, and I think with no Tears of the Kingdom in this list, I think
Tears of the Kingdom should not be in this list.
But I think with it not being there, it opens up a clear path for Alan Wake 2.
What narrative does Tears of the Kingdom have, brother? Like, it has a story. It's a pretty generic one. I think the narrative is the weakest part of Tears of the Kingdom by like a mile.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's gameplay and it's like mechanical sandboxes by far its best component. Yeah. Like, I would say it probably has interesting lore.
Yep.
But its overall narrative, you have to kind of remember, is pretty much the same thing. Evil man back. Zelda has been taken.
So
must kill evil man, get Zelda back. So it's not like the most
okay.
It's like the most nuanced narrative.
Let me work it back then. So
Okay.
I'd say it doesn't go to Phantom Liberty, only because like while the story is apparently like fantastic, it's built upon the main story of Cyberpunk 2077, and it's limited in its size and scope, I guess.
Yeah, it's like pretty amazing, and the set piece moments and the tensions those create are like excellent, like S tier. I just think that once again, as much as it's my favorite narrative I've played this year, I think it's got a 20% attach rate. It's an expansion. I feel really, really good that it got a nomination. I think that is the best thing that CD Projekt could have hoped for. Like, that's awesome for an expansion to get a nomination for Best Narrative. That's, like, outstanding, and that goes to show you how good it is. I just don't think it clears 100-hour behemoth of Baldur's Gate 3.
So the reason I don't give it to Baldur's is whilst it offers like that full impressive RPG narrative system, I think because there's so many twisting paths and like story possibilities and options that you have with it, it potentially takes away from the best narrative. Like, yes, you have the option to get the best possible story, but I think
that's subjective.
Exactly. So that's why I think it doesn't necessarily win it from a best narrative point of view.
I think that's why it'll win from a narrative point of view.
Interesting.
Is that each playthrough is so uniquely your own, and with playing it the first time through, you could not know what is going to happen. And I think that the panel who played this, who did their first playthrough, were just shitting bricks. Like, just going, holy shit. Like, this happened because I did this. And then there's, like, callbacks to actions that happened fucking 15 hours ago. And they go, oi, you fucking killed Derek, didn't you? And then they're like, and you're like, who the fuck is Derek? And there's like, Derek, the little guy that you fucking threw off a cliff. And you're like, oh shit, that Derek? Like, I think it's just like, you know, so absurdly. I think it's just the fact that it does come together cohesively though is the thing that is like scary.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I don't think anyone gets close, actually.
Yeah.
but
Interesting.
but that's just me. I think Baldur's Gate 3 wins this pretty easily.
All right. Well, let's see if that lines up to our game of the year. So
Oh,
we
baby,
have
the big one.
6 nominees. We've got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder with a nice look in.
Man, it's like this. I think goes to show you how fucking Giga Chad Resident Evil 4 is.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that game. Oh, man, like out of all of these, I want Resident Evil 4 to win. Like that was my favorite game that I played this year. Like out of these ones here, because Baldur's Gate 3 is so big, I'm still working through it. So I don't want to give like a definitive answer. What I've played of it is like amazing, but it's like I'd rather finish it first. So of the finished games that I've got here, Resident Evil 4 is my favorite. It's really nice to go to look in. I think it's kind of maybe a wasted vote because once again, it's like the remake thing. As someone who's just played it for the first time, right? If this never existed before, I would be like 100% this should be here. Like it wouldn't even come across my mind as something that should not get a look in. But it's a remake.
Yep.
It's been done. So I think for that fact it can't win or people will fucking riot in the street. So I think you cross that out.
Agreed.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder, once again, amazing game, but it's got to go. Nice looking. Thanks for putting Nintendo in a category. Spider-Man 2 is, I think, a lot of people who I've watched reviews of seem to have the same sentiment that it's great, but it's not as good as the first.
Yep.
Is what I've heard a lot of.
Yeah.
So, and I think with that being like a pretty normal, like, feeling, I don't see how that wins Game of the Year if people are like, yeah, it's great, it's just not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you win Game of the Year if you can't clear your your first game in terms of like sentiment, I guess. And I think Alan Wake 2, for the reasons I said before, I think it's just a bit fragmented. I think the pacing's just like a little bit of an issue. I think it's amazing and deserves to be here. But I think it just comes down to Tears and Baldur's Gate 3.
Agreed.
And the reason I don't think Tears wins is because it's a really big DLC. It is a really big DLC that just builds upon Breath of the Wild, where Baldur's Gate 3 is just this disgusting fucking behemoth of a video game that is just like too big for its own good. It works way too well for its own good. It's like, think about it, it's like a CRPG that has like taken over like Mindshare. When was the last CRPG that took over Mindshare? Like,
yeah, no clue.
It's been so long, and it's so like innovative in its mechanics and its systems. And the only thing is, I guess that is, I mean, actually, its physical copies are coming out soon on console, or it's already on PS5, so it is on console.
Yep.
But yeah, yeah, I think it is between Tears and Baldur's, but Baldur's is just much more impressive. It's the most impressive game on this list.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think Baldur's is going to walk away with it, with the biggest prize of the Game of the Year. Tell me
what you think about the other one. What do you think about the other guys? Like, what's your reason for not having them?
Look, I think, again, I am totally aligned with you on RE4. If it wins, it's a remake and people will riot. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, good game, but again, not enough to be a Game of the Year. I don't think in a year that's as stacked as this year, I don't think it's enough. Again, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, great game, but as we say, it's it could be or could have been a DLC. And if people are speaking about it in that way, I don't think it's warranted to be a game of the year. It could be enough for best ongoing. Kidding. No, I loved it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 is great, but I don't think it's a game of the year. Alan Wake 2, good game, good score, good music, good potentially narrative, depending on who you are. Game of the year.
I think its narrative is great. I just think it's fragmented.
Yeah. So I think
it has pacing issues.
and for that reason, I think it doesn't win Game of the Year. So I agree. I think it comes down to a 2-horse race. Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Let's compare it to 2017 with Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
That game cleaned house at the Game Awards. Do I think that Tears of the Kingdom will do the same? Maybe. I think it'll win some things. I think it's like built on a fantastic shell of what Breath of the Wild was, which is why I think Breath won so many, but I don't think Tears will win Game of the Year. And that's why, like, it could come down to split votes. Like, we know Nintendo fans are massive and they'll come out in droves. But I don't think Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has enough to push it over. Baldur's? Yep. Baldur's has just been on another level, man. Like, you know when games are good when people are bringing up at, like, water cooler chat in the office? Like, man, there's very few games that can kind of do that. Like, I think Baldur's Gate has kind of pushed and done more this year. It's got good narrative. It's like literally listed in almost every category that it can be nominated for, I think. And I think it's kind of got its door to open up and take what it wants. Like, and that's why I think it could win. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I completely agree.
And it'll obviously come down to, because it's 50, I forget the splits for Game Awards of how much is fan vote versus how much is critic vote.
I think it's like 90-10 or like 95-5.
Yeah, and I mean, if people are being vocal enough about Baldur's, I think that's enough to get it over the line. Last year we had Elden Ring, which was, you know, just the talk of the town everywhere.
Right. Elden Ring was fucking being talked about from March to December.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's still being talked about this year. They're like, where that expansion at? No.
Exactly. And like, Sekiro also won Game of the Year. But like, I don't know. I think it's just done enough. I think Baldur's has done enough to get it over the line and is like a genuine entry for Game of the Year.
Yep, 100%.
I think that's... So I think we're both aligned on Baldur's as being the outright winner.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll do pretty good.
Yeah, I think we'll come back here in a couple of days' time and see that it's that it's done very well for itself, indeed.
Yeah.
But speaking of, the Game Awards are on the 5th in December.
America?
7th.
So 6th?
The 7th. So the 8th our time.
The 8th our time.
The 8th our time. So only 5 days away. It's very close. Won't be long until we find out. It'll be Friday next week. That's crazy.
Yes.
Alrighty.
On quickly.
It has indeed. Got some phenomenal entrants here. Had a big year for gaming and looking like it's going to be pretty yoked again next year.
March is looking good again.
March is looking good again. You'll see us again very soon with our reactions for trailers and award winners and everything that comes up in December. It's absolutely silly season. Keep it locked right here.
Yep.
Thank you so much. And any closing statements, Eenaa?
I hope Cyberpunk wins all of its nominated categories.
It's a nice pipe dream. I think I think it's in there for at least one or two. but we shall
Yeah.
see. Dave Diver, don't vote for it. Thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you are. I appreciate you. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tap the bell icon after subscribing and you'll never miss a video again. And consider checking out my Facebook page as well for daily gaming updates and news. Thanks, guys.